I'm Karina Shah, and I'm with Denali. And we just had a little brief sharing. And would you like to just share a little bit about that?
Yeah. One of the main purposes or tasks for my, my individual being, my personality on, taking a body and being incarnated on this planet at this time is to set a new, like you could, one way to put it would be a new precedent. To me, it's called, I see it as a blueprint. It's like a template, more of a template, like a cookie cutter, right? Once you make the original one, then all the cookies will look the same. So you can cut cookie and cookie and cookie. So it's to make a new template for marriage, to bring out, to focus on, and the word marriage sounds like the word merger, really. So to me, it's a divine merger in the highest level. Like, as the ascended masters each have their, their corresponding mate, they come into a merged state of being for that incarnation or for that time period, or maybe millions of years or eons. I don't know. But in this lifetime, the task is to come into that with my partner, Angie. And we were just talking about that a little bit. And the focus that we're having right now is that in any action or word or deed is to aim for harmony. And it's the old idea before harmony was equality. So it's equal, like we have equal bank accounts, or we have equal access. We have, equal, even like if you would spend, let's say you're buying Christmas gifts for your kids and you would spend $200 on each one, right? Or you'll get each one the same sort of thing. Instead of that, what is the act that would bring the most harmony to everyone involved? Like, without any idea of how that would work. It's just a feeling that you're like diving into the lake of, if there's this pristine lake and you're diving into it, and in the dive, you're going to leave no ripples. Like, the surface of the lake is going to remain calm and still. So whatever it is, whatever the offering, whatever the movement is, it doesn't cause any sort of chaos or discomfort or challenge. It's in alignment in this harmonious way. It has and I'd say, so the old idea in the third dimension is equality, and then in the fifth dimension would be harmony, and then the next dimension up that we would go to would be grace. That would all be grace. That makes sense?
Yeah. Sorry. You were talking about, like, couldn't agree upon something, then it would just, you would compromise. And you're also talking about harmony over preference. And I really like that. And then the idea of something like deep in the heart that just aligns naturally. Like it just aligns because it's so present, it's so available, it's so filled with presence, that it occurs because each being is so willing to be in that presence, in that moment.
Right.
That it's something that just enacts or unfolds naturally. And to me, that's like an attunement into wholeness, because we right now have this whole idea of oneness, but oneness is a closed circle, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful, and we all have to attain that certain level of oneness. But then when we come into wholeness, we actually come into like a fractal of a divine design that is harmonious with all beings, and it's organic, it's
Mhm.
natural, it's organic in dimensional states of being, not just idea of an organic thing that's something that is earthbound. It's something that's organically expanding, I guess you could say holographically or fractally. And in that state of being, we have that awareness of harmony where all levels of awareness are cooperating with one another.
Yeah, really about cooperation. And that's the teaching here is focused on the central idea of innocence. And when to me, like truth has three main qualities and love has three main qualities, just like truth, love, and innocence are the three main qualities of spirit or God or the wholeness. So the three main qualities of innocence are playfulness, curiosity, and cooperation.
Mm.
In your innocent nature, like as a child or when you feel that as an older, like in an aged being that's become sage-like in their 70s, 80s, 90s, 100 years old, like they're not interested in arguing with reality any longer, right? They're like, they understand how it works and it's a cooperation. So even if you have an agenda that or something to attend to or something that you're meant to create, it would only be done in a harmonious, graceful way through cooperation. Even the way you would build your home or grow food, interact with animals, like the most basic things. And a relationship really is one of the most basic things, isn't it? Like you're in relation. If you have a body, you're in relationship to everything, including your food, your home, and your partner, your friends, like everything. It's even there's a relationship we're describing from one fractal to the other fractal. Like they're the same. There's a sameness throughout, and they're related. They're connected.
Yeah, it seems like all these kinds of divergent aspects of being in the presence, they have a confluence. They come together without any external force placed upon them. It's something that arises through that state of grace. There's a statement that was given to me early on in my journey through the power of the guidance that I receive, and it's grace supersedes all karma and the light restores all. And that state of grace is it's a place of the awareness of the gift of who we truly are, but also the gift that's available in every moment, waiting to be opened. By getting to that place, when there's still those challenges of, yeah, but, oh, but I couldn't, oh, but what? And you want to just sort of argue that point, or, I don't feel like I'm getting this, or, what happens sometimes in partnership, yeah, but you didn't hear me, and there's all those yeah, buts, and this, and that, and oftentimes it feels like friction, but I really feel like what's happening is there's a confluence of different aspects of being arriving, and then there's that moment when there's a real defined sense of choice to align. And when that happens, that's when I feel like the gift opens and the grace will unfold. It's always there. Like it's always totally there. It's almost like the 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 background of all connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
And the original design is always implicit in every pattern that's unfolding, as you say, like the template or the design. So it's always there.
Yeah, it all has the same architect.
Yeah.
There's only one architect.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm really noticing is like a lot of the old archetypes that sort of were a part of that eon or that age, they're all dissolving and melting because they served their purpose, like neither right nor wrong or good or bad. They served a certain purpose. And now we're seeing what you're talking about, that harmony or harmonization. And, you know, I really liked what you said, harmony over preference. Like, oh, you know, what I prefer and what do you prefer? And it's more like, well, what do we realize? Like, what do we attune or feel or know or sense?
Yes.
And that's in a place of deep, deep innocence where it's there. It's always there. You feel it. It can be
It's,
kind of like, ah, or it's like, but then when it's kind of like, yeah, and it's like, okay. And that's a real harmonious moment. I was actually, I'm feeling this yesterday when I was at this beautiful river in the town of Stratford, and the river Thames is running through it. And I was just sitting in this location, and there was these branches that were hanging down, and then there was a mirror image of the branch underneath from the water, and the water was rippling, but it was like a gentle movement. And I kept on hearing codes and chords, and then an accord, and this feeling of the receptivity of the water and its image reflecting this tree in its solid form, and how the two were receiving one another in different states of being, but that they were aligning in that moment for me.
mhm.
It was such a beautiful experience.
And it's like you're talking about sitting in nature and being very calm or still or your mind silent, and anyone that would do this is going to have the same experience if they have that calmness of mind and calmness of heart. They'll, this grace, this harmony, it's not that it descends from, it's not coming from somewhere else, right? It's just revealing itself here already. It's already here, and we really have been focused on something else. We've been, you know, so a lot of the chaos in the world now has got to do with, the fight for equality. Well, as soon as you get equal, you know, this is the experience happening here. Is as soon as you equality is your platform, then you're going to want to choose harmony, right? And then as soon as harmony is your ground of being, then you're going to aim for grace. And so it just keeps going. There's no end to this. It's equality isn't the end. Harmony isn't the end. And they're all I'm mincing the words, they're all already present.
It's like enfolded and unfolding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's our choice to be deeply present and to be aware and to receive it. It's already here. It's activated by our participation.
And that's why are you ready to acknowledge the gift of who you truly are?
Right.
And in that acknowledgement, the reciprocity of the moment opening up like a gift,
Mhm.
and the gift is grace in our alignment, in our hearts, through those different stages you're speaking about, which are something that unfold can usually instantaneously, but to be able to just sort of, um, for the person who's unfolding, so to speak, or unfolded, it's nice to know that these different qualities, although any word is very limited in its capacity to even
Right.
even imagine to express it, but it gives a little bit of a taste or a feel or sense. But then we also have to just even let everything that we speak of dissolve right into the very moment, so that whatever rises up, we're noticing it, we're abiding in it, we're resting as it in it. You know, all these words that are used. And I think what would be really helpful maybe for those that are are listening in or are witnessing this is if we just go into that state right
Yeah,
now.
that's what I was feeling too. Is if we're speaking about harmony, let's. And so for me, so people can, not only join in to the transmission of it and receive it, is they can just say with complete innocence to the universe or to God or to spirit, you just say, what is harmony?
Mm.
Verse, when you're present, first, you can't be in your mind about this. If you're present, you're describing, and you say that with an innocent heart, then the universe is required to respond and show you. It has you've let your innocent question is a command to it.
It's like ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
The door shall open.
So we can all just join into that question of what is harmony, and even that we have experienced it and know it, more will be shown.
It's interesting, something that pops up for me. My sweet little cat, she's always trying to get my attention, but she speaks cat language and I speak human. But I'll say to her, show me. And she'll just immediately go to whatever it is that she's, and with our language differences, she just points out to me. And I think that's kind of a sweet, innocent way of like, show me innocence, show me harmony. So that's what I'm feeling around that in this moment. And I'm just going to gently play my bowls, and we can just already go into it even more.
what I notice more than anything is the softness, and that the softness has a flow to it. And the flow isn't just, it's not just like a laminar straight flow through a pipe. It's like a flow that has a melody. And anything that would be dropped into this soft, melodious flow, no matter what it is, would be accepted. It would be, even if it was hard, if it had edges, no matter what it looks like, it would just dissolve into this flow. It would accommodate it, and it would accommodate it without trying to change it. The harmony and the softness and the flow and the melodiousness has a place for anything that would like to join into it.
Hmm.
It's you. The flow can't be disturbed, no matter what is tossed into it or added to it. It just accepts it, and it's the harmony and the melody is not disrupted.
I'm noticing the, I guess you could call it the canvas or watercolor of life. And it's like washes of radiance and color that sometimes merge with each other or overlay. And it all flows naturally. It's a natural, it's our natural state of being. It takes a lot of effort and energy and schooling, so to speak, to get a being to be in the world. According to some 13 years and then more higher education, just to try to get that being to be fit in or belong. But when we relax and just allow, it's natural. It's always there. And we've always had it, and we always will have it, and we always are it. It's like we couldn't add anything or take anything away that could be more perfect. but not a kind of perfection that's rigid, but a kind of perfection that is like you fall down in the mud, you land on your feet, you had a moment where you're stamping around, but it's a kind of perfection that is natural. It's like the little kid that just goes and rolls around in a puddle full of mud and water and comes home just covered head to toe in a
Right.
feeling of just blessed blissfulness and naturalness and grace. And on the outside, it may look like a messy kind of but there's inside an unfolding and a bubbling up and a sweetness and a playfulness. And I like the word wonder, wondrous and awe at the same time in that feeling.
I like the example of the watercolorings.
Yeah.
And because whatever color you would put in there, like let's say it's all very light colors and then you put a dark color, they always bleed together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a harsh transition. It's accepting of the new color and it's not so much a contrast, but emerging. It's emerging. It's always overlapping and soaking out. And that's what I was trying to say is anything you would add to it's accepted and it's blended.
Mm-hmm.
It and instantly blended in.
Yeah.
Like camouflage.
Yeah. And yet, without that new overlay of color, there would be just this, it would be beautiful as it was, but then it adds something to it without overtaking
It's like another layer of depth
it.
without changing the beauty of it.
It's adding to it. It's deepening it, expanding it.
That's my experience of really the potential of our humanness and this embodiment of innocence is, to me, the truth is very high. It's like in relation to your body, the truth comes down like information. Light comes down and it brings data, information, and then below is the energy that's coming up from below is like the darkness. It's the feminine. It's like the womb of all creation, right? So in these teachings that have enlightenment or awakening and attaining something, it's either there you are. You just it's either attaining this masculine enlightenment or this deep feminine awakening into the nothingness. And then once you have those both firmly established in your being, right? There's only so high to go. There's only to the very source of the light, and then to the very center of the womb. And then a lot of these teachings have passed, and that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
You've attained, you're unwaverable, or you've transcended, or whatever it is that now there's this idea of I'm going to get that, and then everything will be awesome and I'll be done. But then what you have is this channel, right? From the highest to the lowest, or from the positive to the negative, to the masculine to the feminine. But then the deepening, the depth of life is that it's ever widening.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have this channel established in you, now the widening is from experience.
Mm-hmm.
The widening is having eternity to add experience to your being. And the most masterful beings are the ones that have had the most experience then. And once the height and the depth are established, then then you have this widening and forever widening and widening. It just goes on and on and on. And you just, everything you meet is included as yourself from this viewpoint of love, and then it's participated with this innocent nature, and it just,
Yeah.
it keeps, so you just keep adding in this water painting, you just keep adding colors, you keep adding, and it just keeps adding and adding and adding, and it's a never-ending experience that adds this depth to your being and adds usefulness to your service.
And another way of sharing that with the color is also with a harmony of sound or music. When you have a variation of notes that may not be in harmony, but then when you add a particular tone or attunement to it, and there's a resolution within the notes that is a chord or a chord.
Right.
And we have to do the deep attunement within our own being for that to rise. So I talk about this like presence, prana or life forces, or and then presence or light forces. And once those two have commingled, then there's this dilation of being. Very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Being, but it's got to come. It's like this figure eight, or what I call a molecule of creation, where it just keeps expanding and expanding in this, infinite flow. That's two counter-rotating fields that are just merging in just this expansion. It's so hard to describe because you're really in it, and you can have different terms as you want or metaphors, but you feel it. And that's the key. It's a deep, deep felt sense. It's not emotions, but deep, deep feeling, deep connectivity.
Yeah. It's what I would say is, like, emotions have it takes energy to make emotions. So let's say from this deep reservoir of feeling, then emotions can be expressed out of it. So, but it's always, whenever it expresses one, it expresses the opposite. So if hope comes up in you, like I hope for the future, right? Then it also, the opposite of hope goes the other way. So the opposite of hope would maybe be despair. So if you stay in hope long enough, then despair will come around, right? But when all the emotions collapse, and you wouldn't have a name for them, but the energy of all emotions has collapsed, then you could call it this deep feeling. And it's all of them at once. And it has no boundaries or limits. It's everywhere, always, and it's sort of your sense of yourself.
So in a way, it's, if there is such a word, maybe wholeness, harmony, source, all that is being. Good luck. A grace. Yeah. There's it's so beautiful to be able to have this lens to view through different ways of observing, witnessing. I was really contemplating this the other day about the lens, what we are seeing through,
Right.
through a witness. And then all of a sudden it was like, take the lens away, then what's left?
Yes.
Then what is?
That's, if you're really on a spiritual journey, that's what you're being led to. That's what everything's coordinating you to find, and it's what you'll be left with. Right? There was a experience some years ago where a lot of the teachers and beings I was interacting with, were all, it was focused on either presence or love or enlightenment, which I would say is another version of saying truth. And I remember saying, I'm not interested to the universe. I'm not interested in those. What I'm interested in this life is what is it like to be a master of myself, having ascended to those heights and depths and still walking the earth. What does that look like? So I asked outward, I said, well, what does that look like? And then what I saw was just like you're talking about fractals, but complete and utter chaos of light, like the chaos of creation, right? And like the colors were neon. It was so bright and there was nothing else. It was just a sense of self. And in every way you could sense or look was just morphing, and it was just fractals and what seemed like chaos, but it was at the moment of creation. It was like right when creation started to form, these two energies started to come together. And then I saw these two little dots like way off in the distance. And I was like, well, what are these two little dots, right? So I kept going closer and closer and closer. And as I got closer to these two little, like, it was like holes in all of the fractals or the chaos, or like these two little holes. As I got closer to them, I felt more and more like I had a body. I felt more and more like I had eyes. And I got way up to where I just touched my eyes, the holes, and what was there was this world.
Mm.
What was on the other side of those holes was my experience of being a human being. Everything behind that was just complete, vibrant, chaotic, fractal, creational, raw energy
Mm.
in the form of light. And it was just mesmerizing, right? And then when I had my eyes up to these holes, I was like, oh, when you look out these holes, you start to get hypnotized and you forget that you can back up.
Mm.
Because it's so amazing what's on the other side of these holes that you can perceive through, which is be like the lens, right? It's so amazing, the structure and how it works. There's lakes and beings and cities and all this stuff you can do and be and enjoy and partake of. And it's like you get so hypnotized by it and engaged with it and attached to it that you forget that you can just back up. And it was like this big aha moment of like, okay, you need to be able to balance both.
Yeah.
Yeah, to know that that's what you're looking out of, and know what's on the inside of you is the source of all creation, and then not one of them is higher or lower than the other.
Mm. 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 So in the sharing of this moment within all of us, the breath and the words, like vapor of spirit, can be breathed back in and through. And that when we let speech come through, we are carrying with that the vapor, the spirit, the essence, the presence. And so may we breathe this through us and back within us. Every word, every moment, every thought, every gift, to come into that great harmony of all spheres of harmony. And may we know this, experience this, and allow this to infuse our being so that we may come to this of our own into our own hearts and allow, accept, awaken, unfold into this gift of grace. That we breathe into the power and presence and wonder of the words, the experience of being with Denali, and the very essence that emanates from his being. And may we also, whoever has the opportunity to listen or to be with us, also have the opportunity to experience who I am and we are as grandmother and Karina, as an essence, a presence, and an honoring with our time here with Denali. It's always such a gift and an honor to be with you.
Yeah, it's the same experience. It's been that way since we first connected, since we first met. I don't. How long ago was that?
2012. I think it's 2011. Yeah.
Right before I moved here, so 2012. And as you were talking, I'm noticing the posters behind you, and some of it has your artwork and some of the other things you do. And when I was describing the light and the chaos, it was all these geometries that were forming and dissolving. So they were so overlapped, it looked like chaos, but it's pure geometries that are forming and dissolving and forming and dissolving. And there they are behind you on these posters. Right? So that's the experience being on this edge of creation. And then, it changes right here. It's behind and in front. And may we always be walking into the darkness and bringing the light. That's our gift as human beings, that we have the courage to always be stepping into that which is unconscious and seemingly without the light, and behind us is well lit, that we've brought our awareness and consciousness to it.
And may we as divine essence and presence know that the darkness is also inviting us in to be enfolded in the unknown, in the infinite. And it's a deepening womb of awareness. And in that darkness, our light is shining. But in that emptiness, there is infinite light that's unseen. And may they join together and know the wholeness, the presence, the harmony,
Right.
alive in all beings. Thank you so much for this time together. Really appreciate your presence tonight.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion and making time, and for getting these conversations out to anybody that might be interested, that it might be helpful to.
Yes. So if you happen to be watching or listening, there's links below that you can connect to Denali and his wondrous, amazing journey and works of heart. And the same for me. So blessed be to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.